He's also a liar. He's also a liar.
Liar, Stephen A. Smith?
Drama.
A liar. You can't call Drake May a liar. Our 23-year-old MVP candidate for the NFL-leading 9-2 New England Patriots is a liar? Just because he ain't watching your show? Give me a break, Kasey. We're going to talk about May, Stephen A., Joe Burrow's inevitable return, and you see the Bills lost in prime time? This division's a wrap. Pats are on their way to another division crown.
I thought Drake May was a busy guy. I mean, he's kind of in the middle of a season, but who knows? Justin Turpin joins the show to give us a bird's eye view of what's going on with the Celtics. And then Cam Nolan gives us some insight when it comes to Holy Cross football. You don't want to miss it. Boston has entered the chat. Starts right now. Should have gone for the spike.
How do you know I didn't, Kasey? It cut off perfectly.
Good morning,
I might have
Boston.
spiked it and broken something and not invited back.
Maybe. But you know what there's no maybe on? What the Patriots are doing and how the celebrations are unraveling. The Patriots have a two-game lead, over the Buffalo Bills. Life is good.
Cheers, Shannon.
There you go. Cheers. Bills fans all summer. No shot we don't win the division this season. The Patriots, A Vrabel face, it looks very AI, but
it does.
I was gonna say
it does look very AI.
We know I'm a Braves fan, but
it also looks like it's out of a war movie.
Yeah, this is definitely
like a proud
giving.
dad sending his kid off to battle.
Well, he's sending his kids into battle every Sunday and particularly occasionally on a Thursday. Boston, good morning. Welcome in to Boston has ended the chat live from the Salem 5 studio. We have a lot to get into because aside from the potential AI face of Braves there and then the Patriots now having a 2-game lead on the Bills, I think this episode we kind of have to defend Drake May.
And we're going to talk about you, Stephen A.
Yeah, I didn't
him a liar.
have it on the bingo card for this Friday, but I'm happy to be able to close out a week heading into a holiday defending, of all people, Drake May.
These guys are just catching enemies everywhere.
That means they're doing something right.
I
And you want to know
guess
one
so.
of the biggest reasons why they're catching enemies? Because just take a look at the AFC standings for just a quick little gander there.
People hate the teams that are good, and this team
No.
is damn good, Kasey. In fact,
Tell me.
If the Patriots go out and do what they're supposed to do at Cincinnati, and I know Joe Burrow's expected back, but we'll be looking at 10-2 solo for first place in the AFC standings.
Can go at
Why?
the top?
Because the Broncos, they got a bye week. They're not playing. So, yeah, they won't lose, but they can't win. So if the Patriots do go out and get this W, all alone for first. But I think, let's stare at this thing for a second. Because you got the Broncos, the Patriots, the Colts, the Steelers, the Chargers, the Bills, the Jaguars. That's your 1 through 7. Right now, week 12, barely underway. Those are your teams that are playoff teams. Granted, 18-week season. We're not done yet, obviously, but this is what it looks like at this moment. With teams Houston, Kansas City, Baltimore, expected preseason, if not division winners at the bare minimum, Houston, but Super Bowl contenders, KC, Baltimore, looking at you, that are on the outside looking in. Now that, though, last night, for people that did not stay up late and watch Thursday Night Football,
I did.
That was a massive win for Houston against Buffalo for 2 reasons. One, for Houston to obviously continue to climb and stay relevant and not going to win the South, but fight for a playoff spot. And maybe you're a reason that a team like KC and Patrick Mahomes and Baltimore and Lamar Jackson, even though I think they're going to leapfrog Pittsburgh, but go with me here for a moment. Houston could steal one of those teams' playoff spots if a team like Jacksonville falls out, as I expect the Jaguars are going to. So that's the one.
Is that because of the defense, which I had to eat crow? Somebody got on me
For
about,
Houston, elite
not
defense.
giving enough air to the Texans
enough
defense.
flowers. Elite defense,
I got
suspect
other things
offense.
too.
You know, C.J. Stroud, he's going to be back at some point here. He's still dealing with the concussions, although don't rush him. That's 3 wins in a row for Davis Mills, folks. And that defense is incredible, which sacked Josh Allen 8 times, not 6, not 7, 8 times last night.
Did you say he was
sacked
eating?
Josh Allen. I mean, just it was so much fun to watch. It was a great game. But for the Patriots, the road to the AFC East crown is not just becoming a foregone conclusion, inevitable. We're bordering on calamity if it doesn't happen, Kasey. As you said, this is now a full 2-game lead on the Bills with the Patriots still having a bye week ahead of them, obviously, after the next couple of games against the Bengals and against the Giants. Let's look at the Patriots schedule here for a hot second, because this road, we want to spend all year talking about the easy path? Fine. It's an easy path. At Cincinnati, even with Joe Burrow, if he plays, there is an historically bad defense, and you don't have your number one wide receiver, Jamar Chase, who's one of the top talents in the entire damn league. Jackson Dart, likely to return for that game against the Giants because he is expected to play this weekend off his concussion. But again, no Malik Neighbors, no Cam Scatterbo. Dart, he's live to be frisky and annoy,
running
but
everywhere.
Still, you're better and you're home. Bye week. Then you have the Bills. Revenge, same season revenge narrative for Buffalo. Absolutely a game the Bills could take at Baltimore, game that could be flexed into prime time. Another one that with a healthy Lamar defense you could lose. Sure, yeah.
Because usually December ball for the Bills, you see them kind of sitting certain starters or cutting
no, there's
time
no
down.
sitting
They're
anybody.
not in a position to do that,
This is desperation mode. No, I mean, you got to win. You're fighting for your playoff lives. You're fighting for the division. Then you wrap up at the Jets against the Dolphins at home, a game that really the Patriots should at that point be sitting. Patriots should be sitting guys in Week 18 against the Dolphins because the division, maybe even the number one overall seed in the AFC, are locked up at that point. But just in terms of, okay, let's do the dance. Let's tell ourselves a story of how do the Patriots not win this division.
Right.
The Bills would have to win out, go 6-0. The Patriots go 4-2, where the two games you lose are obviously not only in conference, but you got to lose one of those against the Buffalo Bills before you start to get into the series of what's the tiebreaker. Okay, you're 1-1 head-to-head. What's the conference strength of schedule? And then it filters down from there. The, I guess, worst-case scenario would be Buffalo going 6-0 and you go 3-3, including losing that head-to-head. And then, sure, at that point, the Patriots they've lost. But honestly, does anybody...
What is the road ahead for the Bills?
Well, yeah, you know what? I'm glad you asked. Let me pull that up real quick here. Here's what it looks like for the Bills. You're at Pittsburgh. Aaron Rodgers, I don't think, I'm not high on the Steelers. I don't think the Steelers are going to win that game. I don't think they're even going to make the playoffs. I think they're going to fall out. But I would be delusional to sit here and tell you that a Buffalo team that just lost in prime time in a very important game with the Texans, and prior to that, lost in Miami, got shellacked by Tua and the Dolphins and, the survival mode of Mike McDaniel. I would be foolish to be sitting here and saying, you can't lose that game to Pittsburgh. Of course you're going to trounce them. Pittsburgh absolutely can win that game. And then you have Cincinnati. You're home, but you have Chase back. You have the rush shaken off by Burrow. Cincinnati, despite how bad that defense is, very live to win that game. At New England for that game that we've talked about already coming up in mid-December. You're at Cleveland. Great defense, terrible offense. Shedeur Sanders, not looking so good, obviously, but it's a great defense on the other side like you just faced. And then Philadelphia, defending Super Bowl champ.
Yeah.
That's a tough game, even though A.J. Brown is doing his best to take that locker room down from the, inside out. And then you wrap up with the Jets. So there's no doubt the Patriots still have the easier schedule, obviously. But the Bills, they need to go on a run. I just think it's over, Kasey. I think short of, forgive me out there, please nobody post this if this ends up happening.
Just live.
Short of Drake May getting hurt, heaven forbid, even if you lose to the Bills, you've won this division. You're back in the you're back in the perch. The Bills, they had their 5-year window of winning this division, but honestly, get out of the way, Josh Allen. You're not doing enough. The AFC is wide open this year, and teams are not taking advantage of it. The Patriots should not be in this spot, Kasey, but they are. They're ahead of schedule. We're all sitting here wishing they did more at the trade deadline, but this is a team that come Monday morning when we're sitting here, we should be looking at that graphic again and see the Patriots not second, not tied for first, but first. At the top of the ledger at 10-2. The division, it should be a foregone conclusion that the Patriots are the AFC East champs. And it just feels insane to say. It feels crazy.
I was gonna say, you're like believing your words, but barely believing your words.
We're on the cusp of Thanksgiving, and we're talking about the soon-to-be, not AFC, but NFL-leading New England Patriots with a 23-year-old MVP candidate, if not soon-to-be frontrunner, in Drake May. Coach of the Year, Mike Mike Vrabel, guys in the conversation for comeback player of the year, Stephon Diggs, rookie of the year, Travion Henderson. Those guys aren't going to win those awards, but it's nuts to be having this conversation. But it starts obviously with Cincinnati. We're on to Cincinnati and a game that the team, most importantly, is not taking for granted. And we expect Joe Burrow to be out there. Isn't that right, Adam Schefter? You think he's going to be out there for a second straight day today being yesterday. We're all living in a time warp. Bengals QB Joe Burrow taking snaps with Cincinnati's starting offense, preparing him for the possibility he could play Sunday in New England. The next Schefter tweet is going to be, yeah, he's playing. From the Jolly Roger, you should have Jamar Chase spit on him for good luck. Gross. Also, from Polo, doesn't matter. Their defense can't stop a fart, or as we say around here, a fart. They can't do it, Kasey. The defense, it is tragically bad. It is a terrible defense. Yep. Yes, Cincinnati is capable of getting into a shootout with you in terms of Joe Flacco was putting 30 points up for Cincinnati, but you don't have Jamar Chase. So Burrow, again, hasn't played since week 2 with that turf toe injury, is going to be attempting to force feed T. Higgins. What's the strategy here for Vrabel and company? Is Christian Gonzalez is it lockdown? Is it man coverage? Does it take him out? And then where the hell are you throwing? We had Gonzalez, talking the other day about Charlie Jones. Who? No, right. I don't know what their move is going to be.
I don't know either. And like you mentioned, the fact of Joe Burrow coming back into the mix, we all know this is happening off of a previous injury. But my biggest question mark is the number of guys on the did not practice list or limited list for the Bengals. We kind of went into it for the Patriots yesterday, but their left guard is banged up. And then you've got a number of guys on their secondary banged up. And this is already a tough defense in terms of like not having too much progress this year. You missed one of your absolute wrecking balls and Hendrickson not being able to be in the mix. So you can't even count on like the guy that's going to at least get one sack on Drake May. So sticking with the offense for a second, it's just this is a great spot even for, I think we were talking about the absence of like Milton Williams, right?
Sure.
And this is a great spot to see how Barmore will be able to adjust kind of without having that counterpart in the mix. But I think it's going to be more of a statement for the secondary for the Patriots.
I think it's just, this is one of those great, I don't want to call it a litmus test because the Patriots are nearly touchdown favorites for a reason. They should win this game. Yeah. But there are, from a personnel standpoint, as you're talking about, there are some great tests out there. Absent again, obviously we'll see what the offensive line protection looks like for Drake May. Should be good, but like you said, without that game record in Trey Hendrickson. And then on the other side, no Milton Williams, but can other guys, a Barmore, others get to Joe Burrow? I just think it's so crucial. It's so important. It's so valuable, especially in a game that you are favored to win, to go against a quarterback, even though he hasn't played in a while. It's been a couple months.
He's a playmaker.
Of the caliber of Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
There's no Jamar Chase. I wish he was out there too. I genuinely do. Let me take people back in the time machine,
you want to see a best versus best situation.
Week 1 last year when the Patriots should have gotten pummeled by the Bengals.
16-10.
You beat them with Jacoby Brissett, and that team had Burrow in week 1. It had Chase in week 1. It was out there looking to prove to everybody that, hey, we're back, we're among the class of the AFC, and you still lost. Maybe New England just has Cincinnati's number. Probably not that simple, but I would love to see it. I just think, maybe Lamar, even though I think he doesn't make the playoffs. Maybe Mahomes doesn't make the playoffs. That is not unrealistic with where they are in the standings right now. You're running out of high-quality quarterbacks to see in the NFL postseason, at least in the AFC. You've already beaten Josh Allen. You'll see him again. Maybe you do see him in the playoffs. You've seen Baker Mayfield. You will see Lamar Jackson in a few weeks. If you want to put Aaron Rodgers in the conversation, go ahead. But it's been a lot of yuck that the Pats have been going against. Burrow, I think it's important to go against a guy of this caliber, even if he's not quite himself and doesn't have all of his weapons. This is good. I want this. I want Joe Burrow out there. I want Jamar Chase out there, even though he's unavailable. I want to see the Patriots genuinely tested, which is something, Kasey, that if we had had this exact conversation a month, 2 months ago, I would have never in a million years thought I would hear these words coming out of my mouth. I'd say, no, sit everybody. I don't want to see anyone there for Cincinnati that is a threat to you. Just get wins. I think they can get wins with top quality competition on the other side. I want the top talent. Patriots have earned it.
They absolutely have earned it, the same way they continue to earn respect on their name. And then to add
Just
to it,
not nationally,
Kasey trending towards playing on Sunday.
Yes.
Stephon Diggs has good numbers versus the Bengals. And then you've got Henderson. You've got a couple of guys who've had some breakout performances over the last 2 or 3 weeks that can continue to find some success, hopefully this Sunday, where we come in here and talk about a W and 10 wins on Monday. Let us know your thoughts, though. Where do the Patriots lie, and can they be sitting atop of the AFC or the NFL as a whole by Monday? 617-790-0928. On the other side of this quick break here on Boston has entered the chat. It is time to defend Drake May. Don't go anywhere. Join us here on Boston has entered the chat.
We're back in our Salem 5 studios here. Boston has entered the chat. Again, 8 to 9 on NESN, 9 to 10 NESN Nation. Thrilled to have you here with us. It is time for what's trending in the world of sports. And what's trending is they hate us because they ain't us. Everybody, Kasey, hates New England. It's just that simple. Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, these guys, they catch their strays from Stephen A. Smith, among others. Lord knows that during the Patriots' run of greatness, which hopefully we're starting a brand new one here, there was plenty. But you know what? Doesn't take long. All you have to do is have a 9-2 team with evidently a fraudulent joke of a schedule and a 23-year-old quarterback who does nothing but say, oh, shucks, aw, shoot. Like, there's nothing combative. There's nothing combative. There's nothing controversial. There's nothing arrogant about this poor kid. And yet Stephen A. Smith has got a problem with him.
He can run it, he's tough, he's poised, and he's absolutely dynamic in the pass game. And this team under Mike Vrabel can win the AFC Championship.
He's also a liar. He's also a liar. First of all, let me tell you, it's not to brag. Listen. Pardon the Interruption is the #1 show on ESPN spanning 20-plus decades. First Take is the #1 morning show, 13 years and counting. April will be 14 years. Don't tell me you are an athlete and you don't know that. Don't tell me you are an athlete and you don't know that Cam Newton ain't on this show. You're lying. That's #1. #2, I'm going to take it to a more serious tone with that, because I get where you're coming from, RC, and I don't disagree with you. But how about athletes looking out for athletes? I remember when there was a time when it was so much media that we were saying, athletes, once you're not playing anymore because of your expertise, y'all should be on TV. The opportunity should be there. One of the problems sitting here right in front of y'all, right? This is First Take. There's nothing that I know about football that they haven't taught me. I was a reporter. Ain't play no damn football. Don't tackle me. Don't hit me. No, I don't want it. You understand what I'm saying? I sit up there and I learn from these folks, the people that played in this game, that, when it's over, what are we looking for? What do we want to do? And the media offers former professional athletes opportunities that corporate America, for the most part, ain't doing.
We don't watch First Take. Sorry to hurt your feelings. Huh. Yeah, I get it. I mean, I don't spend a lot of time watching First Take either. Boston Cream, don't you ever call Drake May a liar. That's our guy.
I agree.
You take my wife's name out your mouth.
That's basically what that felt like. But how...
Stephen A., you arrogant fool. That's what this is.
When the response was, who? The shock of that who, I think, resonated with all of us, because I'm like, who's he? You can't be talking about Drake May. You can't be talking about the current quarterback of the New England Patriots, who is an active NFL player, who was busy leading a team, who was busy playing in a season. And I'll do you one better. This whole, once you're not playing anymore and I get to sit here and talk to guys, did you see the reoccurring theme? You're talking to guys who are not actively playing in the NFL at the current moment. He's all of 23 years old. He has other things to be focusing on rather than hearing your, for some reason, attempted rage bait of Boston fans. You're sitting there trying to bait Drake May to do what? Respond in what way? To come on to First Take or call in and be like, you guys are right. This is a fool's goal season. What do you want from the kid? He's clearly focused. And then I'll do you one better. That's great, all the ratings numbers that he dropped, but let's also talk about the era that we are in. I can't picture too many guys posted up in front of their television watching certain TV shows when they're busy, as I've mentioned a couple of times. But I do know that we like to scroll through something called a TikTok or an Instagram and just catch
YouTube
a few
Shorts.
brief highlights. Yeah, and I mean, I can speak for myself. If I'm catching something and I'm like, oh, they're saying this about me, they're saying this about me, like, I'm going to keep scrolling after I read a few things, but I'm not going to go investigate and then tune into the show. You want Drake May to tune in after you're sitting here calling this season fool's gold to do what? How bored are you?
You're being too polite. You're being way too.
Oh no, I'll add to that.
Credit,
I'll
please.
add to that, especially the whole how do you not know what Cam Newton's doing, guys? I saw Cam Newton on Media Row 2 Super Bowls ago in Las Vegas, and all I knew of Cam Newton, aside from his playing history, clearly was the fact that he had a podcast. I'm not a podcast person. I listen to playlists over podcasts. So if that's the last thing I knew about Cam Newton, and I work in sports, and we have to do our research, our homework, and sit up here and talk about these things every single day, a guy who's busy, as I repeat one more time, might not know that you shifted from podcast to ESPN just last fall. And when he initially started with ESPN, he was on primarily on Fridays. And as somebody who was around a lot of college football players and NFL players, they're busy on Fridays. They are kind of busy. Busy's the theme here.
I think that's the big thing, not the busy thing. The consumption of media does not work the way it once did. There was a point where, don't get me wrong, PTI, Around the Horn, especially for my generation, it was appointment viewing. It was like, yeah, I got to check out that 5 to 6 block or whatever.
Yeah.
Nobody is aware, like you said. We work in sports media. I can promise you, I knew that Cam Newton was doing stuff in sports media. I couldn't have told you definitively where, ESPN, Fox, a podcast, whatever, or even if I knew he was at ESPN, what show he's appearing on, because their talent over there bounces from show to show to show. This clip of this whole fool's gold thing, which has wildly been taken out of context anyway, because Cam Newton wasn't even saying Drake May and his play are fool's gold. It was the schedule, the Patriots, the 9-2 is fool's gold. He wasn't, smacking down a kid that grew up idolizing him as a Panthers fan. It was saying that his old team, the Patriots, maybe isn't as good as this record. For this to and that's, by the way, a fair criticism. Many of us have called out the schedule. But for that to heighten to a level where it's, you don't know my show? And when this thing starts and who is on it, and you're not aware of all of the different ratings and da-da-da-da. It's so delusional and arrogant and just remarkable. This air of self-importance that exists around Stephen A. Smith and this program that it just, look, is it more successful than most? Of course it is. Great. Good on you. It doesn't mean that 23-year-olds are consuming the content. My kids, and I don't have a 23-year-old, but I got a 13-year-old who is not regularly watching ESPN unless it's for a game that happens to be on that he wants to see. But he's certainly sitting out there, doom scrolling the social media videos. And he's seen this Cam Newton clip that was out there, but he didn't know what show, what network, he didn't know where it came from. It was just, here's a 45-second click and on with my life. Someone's got to explain to him this is just not how content is consumed anymore.
Right. And again, what response do you want from Drake May when you're sitting there saying that this team is fool's gold? If I'm the leader of a team, I'm not playing into that. I'm not paying attention to it. I have to focus on making sure that my team knows that regardless of the result and what everybody else is saying, we still have a mission ahead. That's his job. That's what he's focused on. I repeat for the 10,000th time, he is a busy man.
All right, let's go to our next thing. Let's bring it back to the Bruins a little bit.
Yeah,
by the way,
something more positive.
Yeah, well, I'm positive they got a game coming up here, and I'm positive that Morgan Geekie is evidently the most elite goal scorer in the NHL. I mean, what this dude has been doing.
Pretty insane.
Not only this season, but going back to really January of last year, the 2025 calendar year, from Mike Kelly on Twitter. Quarter of the way through the season, your NHL goal leaders are McKinnon, Draisaitl, and Morgan Geekie? I added the question mark, I guess.
Yeah,
had a career-high 33 goals last season, shooting 22%, bomb of a shot, while some degree of regression will hit. He's still top 20 in XG, should continue to score at a higher rate than most. What's not fool's gold, Kasey, clearly, is this dude's performance. Matt Luongo, funny thing, if you didn't watch the Bruins games, one might assume he's just reaping the rewards of Pasta's playmaking. While obviously Pasta is the focal point while on the ice, Geekie has done a terrific job generating all by himself. He is far from just tapping in feeds from 88.
Which is what I love, that this was the follow-up tweet to put it in perspective, because I feel like anybody who's not locked in on Boston hockey right now, that's the assumption, because that's where some of the jump-off came in last season, right? It was like, oh, you're seeing these magical connections between Pasta and Geeky. But what I love about the way that Geeky has just kind of re-identified himself, and now you can look to him, you can rely on him. He can be your X factor on the power play that we had question marks about just a few short months ago. Like, he's very much becoming a man in himself on this roster, which is extremely well deserved. And I've said it before. I mean, I loved watching him when he was with the Seattle Kraken and they had their surprise playoff performance. And then, of course, when he first got here, he worked his way from the bottom to the top. And when he got that contract, a lot of us were very much on the hype train of like, now we can distribute scoring chances, opportunities, and goal scorers. And we've seen him get moved around a little bit, jump on that third line to try to help something and go back to the top line. So Geeky is very much a man in himself who can score from almost anywhere at this point. He doesn't have a home office, and I'm living for it.
Bruins trying to start a new winning streak at the Kings tonight as this gauntlet of a West Coast trip continues. Although I will say LA is not a good team at home, so maybe something that the Bees can take advantage of.
Down
the
one
Celtics,
of their top defensemen, too.
Also true. And the Celtics, they've got a game tonight as well, matching up with the Brooklyn Nets, back half of a home and home. Justin Turpin is going to join us to talk through it. Expectations for the Seas not only tonight, but throughout this resetting of a season. Stay with us on Boston Has Entered the Chat.
I want to call him Turner so bad.
Don't. Turpin.
We are back at it live from the Salem 5 studio here at Boston Has Entered the Chat. And as promised and corrected, Justin Turpin joins the show from WEEI. I wanted to call you Turner. I wanted to call you everything else. And there's no way I should be disrespecting you, Justin, because I've heard all the best things. And I'm here to learn from you about the Celtics. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on, guys.
We're so excited. And we love even more when people come and grace the table in studio for Boston Has Entered the Chat. So, of course, we're talking Celtics. An 8-7 team, slightly above 500.
For the first time all year.
Well, we got to stick with the positives, Colin.
Yeah, I'm positive
It's Friday.
that they're a winning team now.
Stick a pin in you. What have we made about the Celtics season so far?
I think it's gone about as what you'd expect. And going into the year, I think if you were looking at this team through 15 games, you would sign up for an 8-7 record anytime. Like, especially with the season that the schedule they opened up with. Last time we were sitting here, Travis was talking about a potential 0-7 start. Like,
Travis
it was a tough schedule. It was a tough schedule.
Travis also really wants the ping pong balls.
Yes,
Travis is,
He's been Team Tank, right?
Yeah, all the AJ DeBonza talk that's what Travis is all about. Some of us, though, do live in a world where I understand the fear of NBA purgatory and, not being good enough to win a championship, but being too good to get a great draft pick. What I would say, though, and I'm sure you agree with this, is that there's just so much uncertainty and unpredictability in it. Like, this is a little bit of an outlier, but the Dallas Mavericks last year were a play-in tournament team, obviously didn't advance to the playoffs, so they wind up in the lottery, and they get the number one overall pick with a less than 2% chance, but they get it, and land Cooper Flagg. And so I just think it's way too early in the year to worry about what's going to happen come the spring and beyond.
Yeah, no doubt. Especially, I feel like teams that have actually given it a try have been rewarded. Like, very rarely do you see the teams that went all out for a tank get rewarded with the number one pick. It just doesn't really happen in the NBA. And especially with this group, like, the core of them is just so prideful. The Peyton Pritchards, the Derek Whites, the Jaylen Browns, the Joe Mazzulas. Like, those guys aren't going to embrace a tank. That's just not the reality for this team. And if they were, you're not going to out-tank the teams at the bottom. The Pacers, the Wizards, like the Brooklyn Nets, like, those teams are just going all in. You're not going to out-tank them. And, this team's just not going to do that. So if it happens, it happens. And the reality is they could be an injury away from it. But for now, they're going to keep competing.
I think it's so great that you pointed out the pride that's on the line, because when you think about it, like, yes, Jason Tatum is the face, but there's so much other leadership responsibility that lays in the shoulders of some other guys. So it would almost feel insulting to be like, hey, if we don't have this one guy, we are incapable. Which brings us to, have you seen any other guys potentially step up? Like, Jaylen Brown was the biggest name to be like, give him the time, give him the ability to show that he's even more of a leader. Are we starting to see that kind of phase in?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if you look up and down the lineup, or up and down the roster, rather, like, you have to be pretty pleased with what you've gotten. Nemish Keita's up there. I mean, he's been one of the most impactful bigs in the league, and that's not even hyperbolic to say. If you look at his net rating, it's second behind only Chet Holmgren. Like, he has been that dominant, and part of that could be because of what's behind him and the inconsistency that's been behind him in the big rotation, but he's been great. I mean, you've had flashes from Jordan Walsh and Josh Minott, and you want to kind of see that, right? Like, what do you have on this roster and who can contribute to the next iteration of a championship team? And you're looking up and down, and it's like, okay, some of these guys could possibly do it. And I think Keita's one, Minott and Walsh, we'll see what happens there, but one of those guys seems like they can as well. And you have to be pleased with what you've seen from Derek White and Peyton Pritchard as well. Those guys have stepped up and really kind of answered the call. So all in all, you have to be pretty pleased with what you've got, just given the expectations. Right, you have to look at it for what this was. And everyone knew it was kind of a gap year. They're going to be middle of the road, right around 500, hopefully a little bit better. I think that was the hope for a lot of people. So you have to be pretty pleased with what you've gotten so far.
I just think all things Jaylen Brown is really fascinating, and has been for a long time, because we've often compared he and Jason Tatum, not only on the floor and all those debates prior to winning a championship, can they coexist, can they play together, all that nonsense that existed at the time, and I hated it at the time, and I still do. Just the personalities, like Tatum, obviously, multiple kids at home, he's hanging out with celebrities, Jay-Z's at the Michael Rubin White party. It's all about the sneakers. He's very
you follow his Instagram?
Well, I mean, there's a very public side to Jason Tatum. Yeah. There's a private side, obviously, as well, but there's a very public, sort of larger than life side. Absolutely. But Jaylen Brown, and I'm far from the only person to have said this, but I've been saying for years, what this guy is going to accomplish off the basketball court is going to, outweigh in the long term what he does on the court. Like, you think back to Bill Bradley becoming a senator kind of thing. Brown is out there at MIT, at Harvard, adjunct professor. He's doing all of these things. Bill Nye, science experiments, bettering his community, activism. Again, just two different personalities. But now this year, and I don't think it's coincidental that it's aligning with his, star of the show, number one option leadership year. And now he's got a Twitch stream. And he's doing a lot more with his brand in terms of the clothing, the apparel, the sneakers, just a lot more front-facing. What's the motivation here, do you think? Because we're still seeing great play on the floor, independent of that, brief benching the other night against Brooklyn. He's owning all of this right now, but we're still kind of waiting for him to show
more.
Are you a number one option possibility on a good team, mediocre team, average team, or a great team? And a lot of that has to do with pieces around you, but I think he's still trying to answer some critics.
Yeah, I think so. And I think, like you said, a lot of it has to do with the pieces around him. And he is one of 7 players in the league, averaging 27, 5, and 4, with the likes of Jokic and SGA and Cade Cunningham. Like, he's in an elite class in that sense. And yeah, you'd like to see the turnovers go down. Like, that's been an issue. Obviously, it was the other night in Brooklyn. You can't have 8 turnovers and obviously not only playing 10 minutes in the first half because of the turnovers. And I have my questions on whether or not that was a benching. He played 30 minutes or 32 minutes in the game anyway, so yeah, that could very well have been another way of just kind of testing out the sub patterns, which Joe Mazzulla made clear at practice yesterday. They don't have sub patterns. Yeah. They're still trying to figure it out. So that could have been another way of doing that rather than a benching, like Jaylen kind of made it implied that it was, because he played 32 minutes. Like, he played almost the whole second half. So I don't necessarily think it was that. But all in all, I think you're getting an all-NBA season from Jaylen Brown right now. And I know the critics are going to look at it and they'll be like, okay, well, they're only a game over 500. Like, how are you an all-NBA player if your team's not really succeeding? You're like the 10 seed in the East right now, but they're 2 games away from being the number 2. Like, that's just how compact the East is. So all in all, you have to be pretty pleased with what you've gotten from Jaylen on and off the floor. Like, what they're doing right now with this team is very unconventional. Guys that have one bad game we're seeing coming out of the starting lineup. Like, you might see that with Jordan Walsh tonight. Like, was great the last 3 games, struggled against Brooklyn. Does he start tonight, or do they go back to Hauser? Do they go to Shireman? Like, it's unconventional. And I think Joe Mazzulla deserves a lot of credit for the buy-in with that, but it also Jaylen Brown, and Derek White, and Peyton Pritchard. The guys at the top also deserve a lot of credit for that as well. So on and off the court, I think you have to be really pleased with what you've gotten from Jaylen this year.
I love that you mentioned, like, was it even really a benching? Because, of course, we know social media can just amplify the loudest piece of an entire sentence. So all you're seeing is bench, 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 bench. And, of course, Jaylen Brown stepping into a bigger leadership role, takes responsibility and says, I was playing like crap. But do you feel like this was a message beyond Brown?
Yeah, it certainly could have. And that message could be that everyone's held to this high standard, no matter who you are. Like, obviously, it's a lot different than when he pulls Jordan Walsh in the first half compared to Jaylen Brown. That's like, that sends a message. But again, like, that very well could have just been tinkering with, what works best. Like, how can we get Jaylen the most fresh for the fourth quarter? Like, they've struggled in the clutch this year. And partially because maybe those guys don't have the legs that they usually do, because they're picking up full court. They're guarding 94 feet. They're running out faster. And I know the pace stats don't really adjust, that it doesn't clock out that they're really much running, but like the pace goes both ways. So that's the issue with it. Like the Celtics pace is going to be down when they're playing teams like Orlando and the Clippers. Like it's two teams that factor into the pace. So the Celtics themselves are running more. They're playing quicker, and partially, maybe the clutch stuff is because they're running out of gas at the end, and maybe they were tinkering with that, because that game on Tuesday night was looking to be like down to the wire, just like all the games were against Brooklyn last year. So
yeah, pulled away late.
Yeah, and that was something they didn't do last year. I think it was like all 4 of their games were decided by 2 possessions, which is fascinating, given how good last year's team was, 60-win team in Brooklyn, who finished at the bottom of the Eastern Conference. But they've always played them tough, and I think that's a credit to Jordi Fernandez, the head coach over there.
A lot of the names that you mentioned already, whether it's Hauser to a degree, obviously Walsh, Minot, kind of Simons, Shireman, Ugo, I mean, any of these dudes, to me, even if Jason Tatum, the whole if and when he does return, you're still not deep enough, more than likely to be a contender, even in this wide open Eastern Conference, which it is, although look at what Detroit's doing, and it's pretty damn impressive. But the most important thing for this team here throughout this season ultimately is going to be who's part of your plan long term to get you to banner 19. So who of these younger, more inexperienced, cheaper guys do you think is sticking around next season that is going to be not just on the roster, not just on payroll, but a real rotational player?
I think Demish Kata's earned his spot, at least so far, and maybe not as a starter, but as somebody that can come off the bench and be your second big when Jason Tatum's back and you're contending again. I think he's certainly one. And right now it's kind of a competition between Jordan Walsh and Josh Minot, because I'm interested to see what they do with the wings, because they have a ton of them, like Baylor Shireman, Ugo Gonzalez, obviously Minot and Walsh. Like, who carves out a role and who actually is able to contribute to the next iteration of the team? Because obviously Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum are both wings. Sam Hauser as well, who's going to play. And the lineups with Hauser and Tatum are one of the most effective in the league. So he's kind of had his spot. And, you want that shooting out there with Jason Tatum. So it's going to come down to one of Walsh or Minot, I think. And Shireman's going to have his chance too. But they're just so congested at the wing where it's kind of tough to decipher who it's going to be. So that's far from decided. I think right now the only clear-cut one is Kata.
Outside of, obviously the wing position being a little oversaturated, is there more pressure on Walsh this year? Because I was hearing a lot of rumblings when Summer League took place, and it was just kind of like he needs to stand out. There's no if, and, or but or any other option here, and it's just kind of been waiting for that full pop to come from him. So was this a high-pressure season?
No doubt. I really don't think it's crazy to say this was make or break for him.
Okay.
I mean, this is year 3. He hadn't really broken through yet, and part of that's because of the team he was on. Like, you're sitting behind guys like Porzingis and Holiday. Like, we know how deep this team was, and Walsh is still only 21. He's played less than 75 games in his career. So I think, people looked at him and it's like, all right, when's he going to break through? He's been on the team now 3 years. Like, when's it going to happen? And he's finally getting the opportunity, and he's showing why they drafted him. Like, the defense is incredible. And I know Harden had almost 40 points the other night, and it's weird that you're talking about the primary defender when a guy plays like that, but Walsh made it difficult on him all afternoon. And same thing with Tyrese Maxey, the game that they lost in Philly. He had 3 straight stops down the fourth quarter, the final stretch, the final minute of the game. So, his defense is what they need him to be, and he's done a great job with that. The rebounding as well. I mean, since playing 20 minutes for the first time against Washington, he's been among the top in rebounds, blocks, steals. Like, that's what he needs to do. They don't need him to score. That's the reality. Of course, the scoring's going to need to be better. They need him to knock down those open corner threes, which he's shown he can. But for now, he's doing what they drafted him to do, is to impact the game, just mess it up, and make those hustle plays.
Yeah, I think the 21-year-old part of it is gigantic. We feel like he's older because we've seen him for a little while. But honestly, there are some guys that enter the NBA at obviously older than 21. And so he's already got 3 years under his belt, or at least he's on the way to having that over the course of this year. Justin, we've only got about another minute, but what are you looking to see, whether that's specifically in this back half of the home and home against the Nets coming up here, or just in games to come as this team continues to find its way?
I just want to see guys continue to develop. Like you said, the number one thing right now, the number one move the Celtics are going to make in the future is getting Jason Tatum back. So who is going to fit the mold when Jason Tatum comes back? I think that's been the number one goal this season. Like, who stands out? And that's kind of what I'm watching. Just who continues to develop, who really carves out, who wins the minutes for that wing role. Like, does anyone carve out a consistent starting role. Like, again, like I said, I'm not even sure Walsh starts again tonight. Like, who's it going to be? So I'd like to just see who continues to develop, and I want to see them just be competitive because they have all the makings to do it. And I really haven't wavered from the fact that I think they'll be a little bit over 500, right around there. And obviously injuries can change that quickly, but as long as they're healthy, I think that's where they'll fit in. So I guess the number one key to that is development and kind of watching what happens with that.
I wasn't here for your first sit down with these guys, but do we see Jason Tatum this season, yes or no?
I think we do. And I think that's a great
with
thing.
It?
Tonight.
No, he would love to do it.
On the bench in street clothes.
Yeah. He has been there. He's been traveling as well. But
yeah. Well, he I don't want to call it mascot energy, but like there's some guys that need to still be around in a full capacity, whether they're suiting up or not.
Well,
That's not the word.
a lot of the guys have talked up his importance of being around.
Yeah,
and
his jersey went up right after the injury in the
Right.
locker room, and I was like, holy crap, like this would get me fired up. So.
Yeah, no, without a doubt.
they still set up his locker.
They
on
do?
the road. Yeah. He still has his nameplate and everything there. Yeah, he still has his locker
love
on
that.
the road. Yeah.
That would drive me crazy on the equipment staff, though. The training set, like, oh my God, he's not even using this stuff.
The things that we learn about
Seriously?
Kaufman. You still have to wash the jersey, okay?
No, you don't have to wash it. He's not wearing it. It's just hung up.
Could be superstitious,
Real
who knows?
quick, before we do break, I keep saying one more. DeBonsa, who obviously is off to a handful of games at BYU, the local kid, Brockton kid, played here recently at the Garden against UConn. Thriller of a game, had a career night. He was awesome. Everyone's excited, fantasizing about what he is going to be in the NBA, dreaming that it is in green. I don't think that's going to happen.
I don't either.
But ultimately, what type of pro do you think he is shaping up to be?
I mean, I think people are going to be talking about him the way they were talking about Cooper Flagg last year.
Wow.
And part of that could be because of the local hype. Like,
Sure.
obviously, he's even closer than Cooper Flagg was. And people even, like, in this region were like, oh, Cooper Flagg, he's from Maine. Like, he wasn't
Right.
from here.
He's
People
one
were,
of
like,
ours,
claiming
New
it as us.
England.
Like, that
Yeah.
wasn't reality. But, I mean, the local hype is definitely going to be there. But, like, there's really no weakness for him on the floor. Like, he's got great size. He can shoot. He can defend. So he's going to be a really good player.
Wow, I'm excited. Justin Turpin from WEEI. Everyone, make sure you call in and let us know your thoughts on the Celtics season. And were you originally Team Tank? Have you changed your mind? 617-790-0928. On the other side, we break down all things going on with the Holy Cross football program. Hearing from Cam Nolan here on Boston is Under the Chat, which you can catch Monday through Friday right here on Nesson at 8 a.m. and from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. over on Nesson Nation.
Look at this. New look lids for an historic venue. Holy Cross football taking on Georgetown this weekend, specifically tomorrow. Fenway Park. Football at Fenway. Look, we gotta use the park. Baseball team's not playing right now.
I know. Might as well.
So, draw the lines. Let's have some football there. We are pleased to be joined by a senior captain from the Holy Cross football team, a native New Englander as well from Oxford, Mass., Cam Nolan. Cam, welcome to the program. I'm going to look at the right camera. It's good to have you here with us. And we'll get to a bunch of things with you. But first and foremost, how exciting is it to get to play over at Fenway Park?
Yeah, it's awesome. Went to a bunch of games there growing up. Some good memories there. The whole team's really excited for it.
I got to know, what's one of your favorite memories, especially as a local growing up, in the historics that Fenway just carries for all sorts of Boston fans?
I think we have little Cam pictures, too, that we can show while you're talking about this.
Right there. Look at this guy. What was this
Yeah,
memory?
that's probably. I'm not sure what year it is. I was probably maybe 8, 9, 10 years old. That's probably my favorite one. That's my great-grandfather, my mom's grandfather. That's probably my favorite memory at Fenway.
Very cool. Obviously, just to, I mean, walking into that, I know you haven't experienced it yet. It'll happen tomorrow, obviously. But what do you imagine it's going to be like when you're cruising in there, getting to be on that field in a different way, obviously, than what it's like to be out there for a baseball game? But to, take that same field that, again, this is an iconic ballpark. It's been around more than a century. I mean, you could still think back to, I guess more for your generation, like, man, this is David Ortiz played on this field, Manny Ramirez played on this field, and they won World Series on this field, all of these things. What comes with that, even though you're going out there to play a different game?
Yeah, I'm sure it's going to be a lot of emotion. It's going to be a really cool thing. It's also our last game, my last game here, so it'll be, I'm sure it'll be a lot of stuff going through my head, but it'll be really cool.
All right, I got to ask the key question here. What's the game day routine for Cam Nolan, especially on a stage that's about to be Fenway tomorrow afternoon?
Yeah, we'll get there. I'll probably go right out to the field in my travel gear, walk around a little bit, try to take it all in, and then just get back to the locker room, just listen to some music, talk to the guys a little bit.
What's on
get
the
out there for warm-ups and then we keep a speaker in the locker room. We got a DJ in there, a guy who's automatically on the aux, so I listen to whatever he's got on.
Here's what you need to do when you go out there and you're doing your little pregame walk around. And nobody heard me say this. Don't repeat it. Nobody's watching. No one heard this.
You're just on air.
Bring just a little Ziploc baggie or something. Put it in your pocket. Grab some of the infield dirt or some of the dirt around home plate. You need a souvenir from this moment, not just the pictures you're going to take, not just you need something to really crystallize that experience that you can put in a little jar at home as a keepsake.
Yeah. My coach was telling me the other day, his wife's brother worked for the Red Sox, and when they won the World Series in 2013, she grabbed some of the dirt, and his mom's got it in. Her mom's got it in her house.
Yeah, I mean, if they'll put more dirt out there. The dirt's replaceable.
That's true. I don't know if you should be, I don't know what the protocol is here, but whatever is going to motivate and inspire you, Cam. Now we're talking about still dirt. It's just come down to dirt. Yeah. Great matchup between you and Georgetown. What are you kind of expecting, as you mentioned beforehand, closing out this season? You know, emotions stack on top of that, just kind of knowing that a lot of football highlights are going to be taking place at the same time that you're supposed to be focusing on the game ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be a great game. It's a lot of our games this year have been close, so I'm expecting the same exact thing. Just a hard-fought game. Get out there and compete.
For you, you mentioned it, it's not just the last game, but you being a senior captain, it's your last game, obviously, until whatever comes next for you off the field or on it, down the line. But last one for Holy Cross, I mean, just what have the last few years been like growing within the program, at the school, as a person, among your teammates? I mean, how do you suppose the emotions are going to play out for you, not only when you step onto the field, obviously, for that last time, but over the course of the game?
Yeah, I mean, I'm really thankful for this place. Being from around here, it's given me so much. It's helped me get into the community. It's just helped me in so many different ways. So, it'll be, I'm sure after the game I'll be a little emotional being the last one, especially with all the guys that I've really grown up with here, all 15 or so of us. Yeah, it'll be probably a little bit of a sad moment when the game's over, just knowing that it's my last one with those guys, but hopefully it's also a very exciting time for some celebration.
Yeah.
This is harder on, even than you, if you can believe it. Your parents are a wreck right now. Watching you for the, again, you're about to leave college. You're going to play your final game there. Again, hopefully there's more football in your future in whatever league. But, your final college game, they've been, listen, I have young kids. I can't relate to what they're going through watching a college standout. But I can relate to, the grind of the early mornings and all the practices and all the everything, it's 7 days a week, the commitment. And it's, believe me, for them, I talk to them about this because I'm sure for them it's crystallizing too, that it's like, what do you mean it's over? There isn't another one next Saturday?
Yeah. I mean, they're watching right now. I've been playing football since I was 4 years old, and I don't think they've ever missed a game. So my mom's a team mom here too. She helps out with tailgates, helps out with feeding us after the game. So I know it's tough for them too, and I'm just thankful for everything that they've done for me as well.
Yeah, it's going to take some time. I think my mom cried for an entire week when my brother wrapped up his collegiate football career, that is. I do have to ask, especially with you being a captain, that gives you the leadership crown. What would you kind of say to any player looking to potentially be a part of the Holy Cross football program and what they've brought to the table and what they've meant to you over the past couple of years?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to be a part of this program, you have to be a great football player, but you also have to be a great person. I think that's a big thing, what they look for. You have to be a good student, and you have to really love the game. Playing college football is hard, and you really have to love it. It's a grind, but I mean, everyone around here loves it, and it makes it a lot easier. So, yeah.
Like you said, I'm sure beyond your family, your friends, teammates, coaches, I'm sure there are a lot of people in the Crusader community that are watching along and your appearance here on NESN. So is there a message to the Holy Cross football fan base that you'd like to deliver to anyone before this last game at Fenway?
Same message as always. We're going to go out there. We're going to try to find a way to go 1-0, and we're going to play really hard.
And also, buy tickets. Come on out to the game. Support us. Watch. Get on out here. Awesome. Very cool. Again, Cam Nolan, senior captain over at Holy Cross. Good luck, obviously, in this final game, for Holy Cross and of the football season. I'm sure it's been an arduous journey, really kind of crazy that it flies by at the rate that it does. Oh, you know what? Before we do leave you, what the Patriots are doing right now, especially as a local kid, I mean, how surprised, thrilled, glued to it are you throughout Drake May's success and this team's success?
Yeah, watching Drake May has been really cool. He's having a great year. I think the coolest thing is watching the two rookies on the left side of the offensive line play really hard, playing pretty well too. So it's been a really cool thing to watch, especially after a rough past couple of years. So really excited about that as well.
See, that's what we should ask them about. The Will Campbell love. The O-linemen, they stick together without a doubt. I get it. Very cool, man. Again, good luck tomorrow. Good luck, obviously, going forward. We appreciate you joining us here on Boston Has Entered the Chat.
Thank you guys for having me.
Absolutely. Again, really cool stuff from Cam, and just I can't imagine. Like, I've had the opportunity to obviously play like media games on the parquet at the Garden and that type of thing. Not like real games that matter. I can't fathom what it must be like to go out and play a game at Fenway Park, a real game that matters, that counts, coupled with senior day. It's the end of the line. Wild ride. But listen.
We know what you will be doing, collecting dirt.
Yeah, obviously. Put them stacks of jars of dirt, all from Fenway Park. Hand them out to family and friends. Thanks to Cam. Thanks to Justin Turpin as well. We're not done here on Boston Has Entered the Chat. Maybe a little done on NESN, but we're going over to NESN Nation. Remember, catch us 8 to 9 on NESN, 9 to 10 NESN Nation, Monday through Friday. We thank you for being with us, but don't go anywhere. More Pat's Talk on the way.